One of the popular and common approaches to project management is through work breakdown structure, or WBS. A WBS is a hierarchical listing of the activities that must be completed during the project lifetime. WBS establishes a framework for identifying the required activities and tasks that need to be done. So the first step is to identify the major elements, the major activities of the project, or the major activities can themselves be broken down to other minor, smaller activities. The second is to identify the major supporting activities for each of the major elements in the project. And the third is to break down each major supporting activity even into further a step down into a list of the activities that will be needed to accomplish so that the project can be completed. Here is how WBS works. We have the project on top, and we're going to go to the three levels. At the first level, we're going to identify the major elements of the project. For each of these major elements, we're going to identify the supporting activities, the major supporting activities. And for each of these major supporting activities, we're going to even go further down and break it down to more a list of activities that needs to be done. And we're going to do this for all of the major elements and all of the major supporting activities. Developing a good WBS can require a substantial amount of time and also effort due to the uncertainties associated with the project and or the size of the project itself. But developing a WBS, on the other hand, would help us to manage the project better. Here is an example for work breakdown structure. Suppose we want to install a 10 kilowatt rooftop, a PV system. So that's our project. So let's break down this project into different major elements. So for example, you're going to break it down to the management, the conception and planning, the design, the construction, control, and the completion. And now we need to identify the supporting elements or the activities, major activities for each of these major elements. So for example, for management, we have assignments. So that's assignment of people and resources to activities or teams, to people to teams, the implementation, and the close down. Or for the conception and planning major element, these are the activities that we need to complete: data collection and briefing, PV type and site selection, the key partners identification, and the contract confirmation. So for each of these elements, as you see here, we have broken these down into more supporting elements or activities. And all of these activities that you see here, they have to be done and completed so that the project is completed. Now that we have broken this project into these activities and tasks, we have a better understanding, we have a bird's eye view over this project, and we know that each of these tasks and activities need to be completed. So we need to take care of the resources that each of these activities would require, and the staffing and the team members that they need to be assigned to these activities, and also the due dates and etc. So managing the project is going to be broken down into managing tasks. So the WBS structure would help managing a project more practical and easy to control. After we have broken down a project into a list of activities and tasks using the WBS, we now have a better control over the project by actively following the progress of each activity and task. So one way that we can do that is using Gantt chart. Gantt chart is a visual aid that we can use for planning, scheduling, and following up with the progress of activities in a project for simple project. So here in this graph, you see a simple Gantt chart for a project which is building a new department in a bank. So we have broken down the project into these activities that are shown here. For example, locating the new facilities, interviewing prospective staff because we need to staff that department, hiring and training staff, and also taking care of furnitures and etc. and etc. So we have broken down the project into these tasks that need to be completed. Then using this Gantt chart that you see here and using these bars, vertical bars, these show actually the progress or how long this has taken to completion. So some of these activities may actually be dependent to each other. For example, first you need to actually do the hiring, interviewing staff, and after you have hired them, you can actually train them. So this must be done before the other activities. So that's also important when you want to follow up these. So now we have a visual understanding, a visual aid in following up these tasks and keep track of whether or how much they have been progressed. PERT and CPM are two popular techniques in managing large-scale projects. PERT stands for Program Evaluation and Review Technique, and CPM stands for Critical Path Methods. By using any of these techniques, managers can enjoy the benefits or the results of these techniques, such as it would give the managers a graphical display of project activities and their progress. So similar somehow to visual aid that we can utilize using a Gantt chart. And also it would give the manager an estimation of how long the project would need to be completed, the lifetime of the project. And also an indication of which activities are most critical and most important to be completed so that the project can be completed on time. You're going to see that although all tasks and activities in a project need to be completed, but some of those tasks and activities have are more significant and are more critical in the term that they need to be completed on time. There is no pushback. If there is a pushback or delay in those activities, that would end up delaying the whole project. Those are called the critical activities. Also, using PERT or CPM would give us an indication of how long any activity can be delayed. Some activities can actually be delayed and put off or push back, and can be done later. So using these methods, we can figure out and identify these activities, and we can actually figure out how much we can delay these, how much time they can be delayed without delaying the whole project. These two methods, the PERT and CPM, were actually developed independent from each other, and they used to differ. But now, through time, that initial difference between the two have disappeared because each of these methods actually have borrowed from the other method. So now, practically, the outcome of using these two methods are the same. So let's learn about the CPM method in the following lecture.